curiosity there. That is where our free agency profile will start here. And the player I'm going to share is up there in age. You actually mentioned him not too long ago at the beginning of the show, John, and that is Morgan Moses. Morgan Moses is a guy who was formerly with Washington, had a couple of nice years there, and had a bridge year with the Jets here in 21. He actually was not going to start for the team, really. George Fant was going to be the right tackle, starting right tackle, and then you've got Mekhi Becton. Becton gets hurt in the first game, and lo and behold, then they put Fant to left tackle, and you've got Moses over at right tackle, and he played pretty well. You see the PFF score there, 71 overall for the year. He's entering his ninth season, though, John, and to your point, he is, I think he's currently 31 years old, so we've got here's the pros, positional need, experience, and he's been a solid pro throughout his career for the most part. Maybe relatively affordable because he took a rental deal last year and he's up there in age. Scheme fit with the zone, the wide zone, that's what they ran last year. And then, of course, you're talking about the age and short term being a con. He had an injury that they thought may have required surgery, but did not in the season finale, so that's good. So, I mean, there's some pros and cons with him. I think he would be a little bit, if we're talking short term with Riley Reif being the guy at right tackle, this is a guy who, yes, could be short term, but may still be a little bit longer term of a solution. Would not be a Pro Bowl guy, but also may not break the bank. And I think could be a guy you lean on for a couple of years, and that gives you some draft flexibility potentially. If he's hovering around the 70s in the PFF range, that brings you, a solid presence. Not anything that moves the needle huge, but I think in terms of realistic Bengals signing, I don't think the Jets are going to be franchise tagging him. I mean, there's a possibility of that. They could look to re-sign him. That's the other thing. He did like his time in New York, things I've read about him and quotes he had throughout the season. He liked his time there, and he really, even though the season went awry for them, but he is a guy that I think could be not necessarily a 1-year option for the Bengals, but maybe a 2-year option, maybe 3 if he stays healthy, but could give you some major draft flexibility and maybe not break the bank so you can use free agency money elsewhere, Jesse Bates, et cetera.
Yeah, and I think for starters, scheme fit 100%. It's kind of interesting how he just missed Frank Pollock because the Jets signed him, and then Pollock left for the Cincinnati. But before, like you said, he was with Washington. Bill Callahan was Washington's offensive line coach for many years there, and they ran Kyle Shanahan's offense too. So Moses is familiar with wide zone and just zone blocking in general. I mean, being 6'6", 330, he still moves pretty decently and can still execute a lot of those blocks and get out into space. I think tomorrow, if you're watching this live Wednesday night, tomorrow is Morgan Moses' 31st birthday.
There you go. Yeah.
So he's 1 year younger than Riley Reif when Reif signed with the Bengals. And honestly, I just look at Moses as a slightly younger Riley Reif, to be honest with you. I think it's consistency, it's stability, and it's also predictability in what you're going to get with him. It's really fascinating to see just his production as a pass protector. You go to PFF, like I will list off the sacks that he's allowed in true pass sets, totaling like just season by season, going from most recent to his rookie season. Here we go. 3, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 5, 3. What you see is what you get with Morgan Moses. He's not going to be, like you said, an all-pro or Pro Bowl right tackle. He's going to give up a handful of sacks a year. His pass blocking efficiency is not perfect, but he rarely has a terrible game, just like he rarely has a dominant game. And there's definite value in that, especially for a team that doesn't have an answer right now at right tackle. So being 31 years old, being this is going to be his third team, and he's already made a decent amount of money, I don't know if there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to be willing to offer him more than just a 1-year deal, but he's going to get some type of a deal because teams are desperate for offensive line talent, and he's proven that he can still play even at 31 years old now. So I do think that he is a legitimate option, but I will say that I would be shocked to see the Bengals or any other team giving him anything more than a 1-year deal.
Yeah, I could see that potentially happening just because of the age and whatnot, but he may be able to parlay something into, some deal where it's maybe you got an option year or something, something creative there based on the age. I will say, gosh, the Jets, you look at their tackle situation last year. I mean, Fant isn't fantastic, but he had a pretty good year filling in for Becton. So, you had this guy on the bench to start the year. You had Becton, you had Fant at the right side, and Moses was on the bench. Becton gets hurt. All of a sudden, Fant kicks over to the left and Moses over to the right. And, both those guys had pretty good seasons and stayed pretty healthy. So, and then now you've got questions about Becton and his viability with the team because there's some weight issues and all kinds of different things. Obviously, the injury that kept him out, that's a whole separate topic. And researching Moses a little bit, you heard, I read a little bit about Becton, and he was supposed to be out for maybe 4 to 8 weeks. And all of a sudden he's gone for the entire year. So that didn't sit well.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note that like Becton and Fant were the projected starters, and then Moses wasn't signed until July. So he was available for every team, including the Bengals, to sign well into the summer, and then the Jets ended up giving him like a 1-year, $4 million deal. The injury to Becton happens. They move Fant to left tackle, and Moses starts the entire year right tackle. And I think that matters too. Like he's old, obviously, or for a tackle, he's old, but he's durable. He's proven to be able to stay healthy all throughout his career in Washington and now for a year with New York. So, yeah, I do think that he's likely going to hit the market. I don't really foresee the Jets retaining him. And if the Bengals strike out on potential trades for a tackle, and just, again, this tackle market isn't exactly great, like I think Moses becomes a legitimate option.
Yeah, and at a minimum, they could do a deal like the Jets did last year, where if the Bengals try and insert a young developing right tackle, maybe they're really high on Deontay Smith, the right tackle. Maybe, there's all kinds of different things. And even if you bring in a Moses as kind of an emergency backup situation, that wouldn't help you. That to me wouldn't be the ideal, though. I think if you sign Moses, even if it's a cheap deal, I think he starts at right tackle for you. And like you said, John, this is why I feel like even though he's not a cut veteran, that the Bengals prefer to not go against their compensatory pick formula. That affordability that you mentioned, that he signed a 1 year for $4 million, $4 million contract essentially last year. It's that price tag's not going to go exponentially up, even though he had a decent year. He's a year older. So I think from an affordability standpoint, it just makes a lot of sense, even if it's not, a Laramie Tunsil and moving Jonah over and doing all this kind of stuff that may really excite some people. I think this would be a sound and quietly savvy move for the team.
100%. And shout out to Joe Bradley and Brian McHugh in the comments, are listening from overseas in UK and Scotland. But guys, it's still Wednesday in Paul Brown Stadium, and that's the official time that we're going with the channel. So still Wednesday here.
There you go. Thanks for listening from abroad, though. That's pretty awesome that we've got some listeners in Europe. That's pretty awesome.
They're saying up at 2:30 in the morning to listen to us. Like, how crazy is that?
I know. That's dedication. That's dedication. We appreciate
stupidity, maybe, but teach their
own. Well, that's the free agent profile there, talking a little bit about Morgan Moses as a potential target for the Bengals. Now,